And we are live.
Sweet.
Welcome to our April webinar. So this webinar is going to be on unlocking the power of the Management API. My name is Brendan. I'm your friendly neighborhood neighbor. And I'm joined today by a new face on our webinars. Aaron, I'll toss it over to you. You can do a quick intro.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Aaron Taylor. I deal mostly with developer experience here at Agility. I'm a full stack developer, former customer of Agility's. So I come from a long background of working with this product. And I'm really excited to be here today. I wanted to talk about one of the features that's kind of hidden away that I didn't even know about as a customer that just deserves a lot more exposure. And we're going to be talking about that management API and the SDK as well, which is also an important tool that we've built here. And yeah, it's pretty exciting. There's so many use cases for this. We've built our own products on top of it, like the Agility CLI. And there's just so much potential for like automation and just integrations within your own systems to utilize this, and especially in big systems. That's where it really shines, when you have just so much content that it becomes kind of cumbersome to start managing within UI. And so you start looking for a programmatic approach for it. And that's exactly what this solves. It's providing programmatic interface into our APIs to be able to deal with, your content creation, some of your workflow stuff, like, publishing stuff, approving content. There's just so much that you can do with it, and even down into handling batch operations for updating content. It's incredibly powerful. So why don't we get into it? I'll go ahead and show you the Swagger docs first, and we can kind of talk about kind of some of the basics over what it does. I'll try to avoid going through every single endpoint because you guys will get the gist of it and how it works just by kind of showing you it topographically.
Cool. Let me pull that up. And again, this is always an AMA. This is an open-ended kind of webinar. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to drop them in the chat and we can pause and answer them.
So hidden from view, which should now be kind of more exposed on our doc site, you should be able to find access to the Swagger docs now. But we definitely have this full, very large set of Swagger docs here for you to kind of peruse through. Again, just kind of take you over. We can deal with all of our asset management, from dealing with folders that need to be created, renamed, deleted, moved. Again, you can move your media around as much as you need, as well as your galleries. Containers is a new concept that's new to the Management API that, for those of you that have used the Fetch API, may not be aware of how containers work, and we can go over those in a second. Your content items themselves. So again, things like your list items or content that fits into your page modules, page components. A couple things here for managing the instance user to make sure that you can validate access for users that are using the Management API. We have model controls, and models again being what sets the foundation for your content. So again, you can fully interact with your models here. And of course, page functionality for interacting with pages, page templates, or essentially your page models. And again, giving you full kind of workflow controls for things like unpublished, publish, approve, decline, request approval. And again, webhooks as well, which is another big one. Because again, we got to be able to integrate this stuff and send data back in. So again, you can create your webhooks from here, get a list of them, delete them, whatever you need to. So just to go back to the idea of containers here. Containers is, like I said, the new concept that you will kind of meet when you get into the Management API and SDK. And just to kind of give you an overview here, containers are kind of that in-between layer between content and the actual model. And that's how we essentially assign content into that container. And this is also how we use our internationalization. We use containers as well for that. So, oops. So this is, again, the new introduction here. We're going to be dealing with containers, and containers are essentially just the actual lists themselves. A good way to think about it, if you were to have blog categories as a list, that itself would be the container that we essentially bring in content items into. It's a great way to think about it. One of the things that we didn't have documented well, which is actually how do we authenticate into this? Because a lot of people keep coming back to me going, hey, like I got the docs, I don't know how to get access to it. So we have updated our GitHub README here with kind of an example here of the authentication flow. As well, we do use refresh tokens. So if you want to have less human involvement, you can use a refresh token to keep authentication alive rather. So that's been updated. You shouldn't have too much issues now authorizing it. We do use OAuth 2.0 for our authentication. So if you, again, whether you're authorizing through your own code as you're scripting this out, or whether you're using our Swagger docs, authorization works exactly the same. So you'll have to, when you click your authorize, you will kick over to our login essentially on our OAuth controller, in which case you can log in from there. And of course, like I said, as you're scripting out your own application flow and stuff like that, this screen will be a part of that. Where you'll kick over, the user will authenticate. And then, of course, you can use the refresh token to keep your authentication alive. Generally, the token that you get back only lasts for about a day. So it's just something to keep in mind. We are looking at implementing personal access tokens into our platform in the coming, couldn't tell you the time frame, but we are going to be implementing personal access tokens so that you can use these tools in things like CI/CD pipelines, or just kind of without human involvement of that login process. So excited to get to that, but that's the next step, unfortunately. So where we are today, we do have to authenticate through this login process, which is okay. So a little bit different than the fetch API, where you're going to get your API keys from your instance. You don't need to do that in this instance. You just authorize, and away you go. It'll launch your window up here. We log in.
It's always going to make you go through all the steps.
Oh, of course. We got to have Authenticator app on here. 2 seconds will authenticate in. I just want to show you the full auth flow here. And of course, it's not opening in the Authenticator app. There we go.
Success.
So it's now authorized, and we can go ahead and start using the API. So again, a little bit different than the fetch API. So primarily in here, again, you'll want to have a GUID or your instance essentially to run most of the commands. Pretty straightforward for those who've used Swagger docs in the past. Again, we're just essentially populating it with our GUID page size. We can try out those functions and get a response back. And of course, if you need the response models, everything is in here as well. Again, you can also grab type definitions out of our actual repository here if you're looking for proper types coming from the SDK. So the SDK is essentially a wrapper that we built for the API that lets you that handles a lot of the management of your functionality. You're not having to map any API endpoints. Of course, if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, you're free to hit the API directly. So that's kind of an overview of like the Swagger docs, how to get to them, and the current documentation for it, which is in our GitHub repo. Did we have any questions, Brendan, about like what we could use this for or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, just myself as like a non-technical person as far as the management API goes. What's the use case? Like the layman's term kind of like use case of the management API is just essentially like you can do things that you would do in Agility, but like through the API.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, it brings a programmatic interface to interacting with your data in your instance, which just gives you a lot more control over things. If you were to have your own databases and you want to interact with those databases and have that push content into your website, for example, you could do that. I mean, we have some large clients that are actually utilizing this right now and building out their systems in it. Sorry, I can't think of the name of our client.
Nope, that's okay.
But yeah, we definitely have a couple clients now that have built out their platforms quite heavily on top of the management API, and they're seeing great success from it. You could do a lot of automation tasks with this as well. So if you wanted to use something like Zapier, where you have data coming, you're listening from other endpoints or other services or other tools, you could then programmatically push data into your instance, or approve it or publish it. Again, it's so flexible that I think automation is just the kind of hitting the surface for it of what it can do. And so yeah, you can automate a ton of your workflow right off of the management SDK or APIs rather.
Could you integrate too with something like Slack?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you could do kind of bi-directional integrations. So as stuff gets published, you could have that populate in your Slack channel to let you guys know, hey, we've published this new item. Um, or you could essentially ask for approvals through Slack and integrate that approval process right in through your Slack channel. It's really endless. It's what you can kind of come up with in terms of the utilizing these endpoints.
So I guess from like a non-technical standpoint, if I'm just like someone who's in agility using it day to day and I'm an existing user, what are some of like the benefits? And I guess what would the lift be for like an existing customer to go in and do some of these things, set up some of these automations?
Pretty low lift. Essentially, you would, something like Zapier, you're just giving it the authorization endpoints, how it kind of communicates back and authenticates, and then away you go. Very low lift. And you can start with something simple, right? Like you wouldn't have to do necessarily a full-fledged system built on top of it if you just wanted to do things like, again, bring your workflow of approving content out of the UI. I mean, you could essentially build that into like an email chain, or again, start small, start with one task and look at how can we automate this or bring that in, and then kind of move forward from there. So something like the CLI that we built is, again, full-fledged, utilizes everything. But one little thing that you could do with it is you could build yourself something to download all of your assets. So that's another handy feature. Customers are always asking us, how do we get our assets? How do we get our assets? How do we get our assets? And I mean, the number one answer that I try to give everyone is take a look at the management SDK and API, because that'll allow you full control to grab all your folders, all of your galleries, all of your assets and lists, and pull them all down, either to your local computer, or in some instances, it's being used as a backup source. So it's a great technology to have. And yeah, like I said, you can start in pieces. Don't necessarily have to kind of go full-fledged at it. And there's even some really unique use cases that I've been dreaming about. In some of my past companies that I've worked for, there's a lot of people that like to work off like Excel sheets, just because they're in, an older or financial department or something along those lines. And you could use this to automate data coming out from your Excel sheets into your instance. So let's say you had someone maintaining a product catalog in Excel. That product catalog, when you make updates to it, could be updating your content on the website as well, which is super handy. Then we start to kind of take that need for developers and even marketing teams to have to go and manage that content, where individual staff and sub departments are able to get involved in that process as well. So it really extends out what you can do with it and allows you to kind of integrate maybe even into existing business management systems or existing workflows. That's where you really start to dream of like, hey, what can we do with this? Another great use case would be maybe making something that like scrapes your Google reviews or your tweets or stuff like that, and again syndicates that content right into your website for you.
And if I was to do something like that Google reviews when you were talking about, what calls here would I have to use to do that? Like, what would the process be for that in here?
Sure. Now you'd probably be working with a list. You'd probably set up a list for reviews in your instance. And then so you would have to go in, find the container that it's a part of, and then you're going to essentially create a content item under that for that new review. So let me see here. So right here, we have the post to an item or we can do multiples at a time and do it in a batch, just to, again, save processing power, especially if we're scraping large amounts of data. So you would probably write yourself some sort of front end that would handle that operation, whether it be like a Next app. I mean, really pick your flavor. You could build it in .NET, Python, Next, however you want it. That would go and handle the action of like actually interacting with your Google reviews, whether you scrape a page or you do it programmatically through their APIs, which I suggest because that's the best practice. You can pull those APIs down, create these content items, and then push them into that list. And so again, that's pretty easy step. Now, of course, you will have to authenticate into the APIs during that process. But again, once you're authenticated for 24 hours, you can automate that flow all the way through.
That's pretty cool. So, I mean, you can literally do anything with it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just endless possibilities of like little ways that you could like just innovate or be creative and find new ways to do things using the management API.
That's it. And I mean, you want to keep your website fresh. So if you have a source of content in your business that you might not even realize, hey, I've got these guys updating this all day long. That's the perfect point for finding an integration point of like, hey, let's take that and bring it right into the website. And yeah, I think I think with more people leveraging this, they're going to really, be able to grow their sites a lot bigger. And it really knocks down some barriers to what you can do with, building your site out. And, a perfect example of that is just, if you're dealing with something like my last company that I worked with that had a lot of rental listings that they're trying to, populate onto their website, all of those rental listings could be pushed right through the management SDK from their databases, and simplify and streamline that process right out of the box. It's also great if you wanted to have user-derived content. Again, you have a database of your users or customers or something along those lines, and you want to bring that in. Another great way to do it.
Yeah, we should almost have a section in our docs around the management API to kind of like take some of those interesting use cases that you were talking about and kind of like give a walkthrough as how you would do kind of like some of those use cases and example ways that you could automate things like Slack integrations. There's API integrations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll be building out some examples. I develop all of the SDKs and starters for Agility here, so there is going to be a ton of stuff coming. I'm definitely going to update the the doc site here, not just the GitHub repo here, but there is a ton of changes that are going to be coming. So yeah, definitely lots of examples coming of how you could do automated integrations and stuff along those lines. And as I'd mentioned, once we get the personal access tokens out there, it becomes even more streamlined. It's you're no longer having to do the user side authentication. So very excited about that and how that's going to enhance the management API experience.
Awesome. And just a quick shout out, Jason, and in the comments there, we will definitely have somebody reach out to you to chat about that. That would be great.
Yep. I'm also in the community Slack, so if you see me in there, feel free to shoot me a message at any point in time. I'm pretty responsive and around more than I would like to be.
Cool. Before we wrap up, we'll leave a minute for any additional questions in the comments anyone has about like potential use cases or things that you could do with the management API while we've got Aaron here. In the meantime, did you have any other anything else that you wanted to cover? Any dad jokes to slide into the webinar before we wrap up?
Well, I'll definitely leave you with a dad joke here. All right, where's our alert?
Bring on the cringe. Let's do it.
All right, this is my favorite dad joke of all time. Compliments of my former CTO. Why do the Swedish have barcodes on all of their warships?
Why?
So that when they get back to port, they can Scandinavian. I don't know.
Good. It's good. It's so bad that it's good. I like that one. I haven't heard that one before.
Excellent. Well,
Awesome.
Brendan, I thank you for the time here. Oh, we got one more quick question here.
Yeah, there we go. Pop that up there quick from.
Oh, absolutely. Reach out to me in the Slack channel. I'll definitely help to support you on how to do that. I didn't even think to mention, CMS to CMS migrations, because that's another great use case.
We can talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that, again, I'm going to start working on here is, a migration tool. Again, don't know the timelines because I'm always dreaming up things here on what to do with our products here. But yeah, we definitely I want to introduce some sort of migration tool because this is the perfect API to use when you're migrating your data out of another platform.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for the question. Appreciate. Oh, we'll reach out to you, Jason, and we'll make sure that you get in there.
Okay, excellent. Yes, so that's it for me. Just to wrap up this webinar, thanks for everybody who's chimed in to kind of get some information on it. I hope to see lots of engagement in the Slack channel of people exploring the usage of this, and I'll be waiting for your questions.
Awesome. Excellent. Thanks again for hopping on, Aaron. Thanks for covering the Management API. And we will see everybody in our May webinar. So keep an eye out for that.
Awesome. Have a good one, guys.
Take care.